They done, it's some on there.
What?
Ain't it?
No.
They all in 12.
Your Honor, I know his audio is working, but see his video. Sergeant, you there? Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Is that what Jonathan?
Okay. We are back streaming live on YouTube. I'm calling State of Georgia versus Kelly Stillwell. So they're at the jail. If you're Kelly Stillwell, wave at me to confirm that. All right, thank you. And representing the state is Ms. Thomas. Representing the defendant is Mr. Rogers. And Ms. Thomas, you can call your witness.
Your Honor, state would be calling Sergeant Stillwell. No, I'm sorry, Sergeant St. John.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm that the evidence you should give before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Put your hand down, state your name for the record.
I'm Sergeant St. John with the Clayton County Sheriff Office.
And were you so employed on or about February the 3rd of 2025?
Yes, ma'am.
And on that date, did you have occasion to investigate an incident involving a Kelly Stillwell?
Yes, ma'am.
And did that incident occur on or about 6811 Terra Boulevard?
Yes, it did.
And is it within the confines of the city of Jonesboro, Clayton County?
And Clayton County. Yes, that's correct. In Jonesboro.
What drew your attention to Mr. Stillwell at that location?
Prior to me pulling over that vehicle, I was just stationary near Terra Boulevard and Southside Commercial. A flock
Hold on,
alert.
let me ask you a question right quick. When you say you were just stationary, what does that mean?
I was parked on the side of the road, just running my LPR system and also watching flock system for any type of violations.
So is that similar to what you're doing where you are now? Just sitting there?
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay. And what happened after that?
I received a flock alert in regards to a stolen vehicle northbound on the boulevard that just came from Southside Commercial. At the same time I look at it, to my left, I noticed the vehicle. It was on the left turning lane. Once I was able to get clear from traffic, that vehicle did make a U-turn, and I still had visual, and I quickly got behind it. The vehicle.
Okay, let me stop you right quick before we get too far. Now, when you're saying you got a hit, what happened? You're sitting there just like you are now. Traffic is going by. What happened to draw your attention to his vehicle?
Once I got the hit, sorry about that. Once I got the hit on the vehicle, it was also checked while I'm doing everything else.
Okay, that's why I'm backing you up a little bit. I'm seeing cars go by. What makes you get a hit? I mean, you don't have a gun or anything pointed out the window. So how did you get a hit?
Okay, in Clayton County, and other agency, we have what's called a flock system. It's camera system that actually is also an LPR system. Any type of violation, suspended registration, no valid insurance, or wanted person, stolen vehicle, felony vehicle, it'll get a hit off of it to let us know what type of violation it is. Once we receive that.
Hold on, Sergeant, work with me. I'm driving by. I'm in suspended registration. How do you know, as I'm driving by, that that car is suspended?
I'll check query on GCIC, and it'll let me know that that vehicle was stolen, if that's what you're asking.
Let me rephrase my question. If I'm driving by, my registration is suspended, and Your Honor, I thank you for your patience. How do you know it? That will alert you to the fact that a car just went by with a suspended registration. How does Flock notify you?
It just alert. It just beep alert, and I also have it up, ma'am. It tells me exactly where the car is at the time, what direction it's traveling, what camera system it hit.
So if a car goes by, it beeps on your equipment to let you know car just went by and something going on with it. Is that a fair way of putting it?
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay, move on. Now,
Okay,
after
okay.
the alert from the Flock system, you were able to get behind the vehicle that the system alerted on.
That's correct.
And what you do next?
Once I was able to get behind it, it had made a quick right turn into the plaza that was nearby, which is 6-8, I believe. Let me look. 6811 Terra Boulevard, which is the New Orleans seafood. Once it parked, my lights was already activated. And when I was about to get out of the car, the driver already exited the car and was about to walk in before I gave her verbal command to stop and to
You
come
say
here.
walk in where? To New Orleans Seafood?
Yeah, he was about to walk in the store.
Okay. Were you able to stop him?
Yes, the driver did comply, walk towards me. I've advised him the reason for the stop, and I didn't detain him yet. I did question him a reason. I did question him to how he was able to gain possession of the vehicle, and his response was that the owner allowed him to use that vehicle.
Now, where did this vehicle come from?
Kentucky.
So it was stolen out of Kentucky?
That's correct.
Was he able to give you the name or anything of the owner?
I allow him to do that, but he went and attempted to log into his Facebook, and seemed like I was getting a run around with that. So I was able to detain him, and I was also able to contact the register owner myself and spoke
Okay.
to her via phone. The register owner stated, because I asked her, hey, I'm out with this subject that claimed that you had gave him possession of the vehicle. Could you explain that? The register owner stated, no, I don't know who that person is. My car was stolen when it was, she had left the keys in there. I forgot if she told me if it was running or not, and somebody just jumping in and drove away.
And she has no idea who took the car?
That's what she stated to me, correct?
And she was in Kentucky at the time?
Yes.
Did she indicate if she ever gave anyone permission to drive her car?
She stated to me verbatim that she did not give anybody permission to have possession of her vehicle or drive her vehicle.
Did you know the defendant's name at the time?
Stillwell Kelly.
And was she familiar at all with that person, with that name?
No, she did not know who that person was.
Did she give anybody from the state of Georgia permission to bring her car here? That you know?
No. No, ma'am.
Now, after determining determining that the vehicle was in fact taken, was there anything else that you charged him with, Mr. Stillwell, with?
Yes, a GCIC query was done on the subject license. It was showing that the person was an unlicensed driver.
Did Mr. Stillwell have anything to contribute towards that?
Meaning what, ma'am?
Did he tell you anything about his license situation?
No, he did not.
So he's not licensed out of state or anything like that?
No, when I query his information, it's showing that he was an unlicensed driver.
Okay. Your Honor, I believe that, one more thing. Can you see who's in court today?
All I'm seeing right now is you, ma'am.
Okay. But Mr. Stillwell was arrested at the scene?
Yes.
Yeah, that's all I have. Reserve right for redirect.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you. Was it Sergeant? Yeah, Sergeant, you're the lead on the case.
Yes, sir, I am.
And the vehicle that we've been discussing is operated by Key, is that correct?
That's correct.
And did you observe any sort of damage to the locks or the ignition or anything?
No, sir. I stated before that the owner stated that the keys was with the vehicle at the time it was taken.
And did you, if I understand correctly, the tag on the vehicle, was the correct tag on it, like it hadn't been removed, concealed, or anything like that?
Yes, sir. That's the reason I was able to get that hit based on that tag.
And when you stopped the defendant, I know you said you all had a discussion about how they came to be in possession of it. Did the defendant give you the owner's name?
I forgot what name the defendant provided, but again, I was able to confirm that information myself by calling the register owner myself.
Right, I understand that part. I'm asking if you recall, I want to make sure I understood your answer. Are you saying you don't recall whether or not the defendant gave you the owner's name?
Yes, I don't recall. He was trying to get on Facebook to look for that person that gave him possession of the vehicle at the time. I don't recall what name that he provided, sir.
And then when you contacted the owner, if I understood correctly, they're telling you that the car was running when it was taken? Is that correct?
She stated that the vehicle, if I could remember, the car. She either said that the car was running or the keys was in there at the time when it was running, and somebody jumped in there and took the vehicle. The incident report from I believe Barrow County Sheriff Office should have exactly what happened during that incident. Barron County Sheriff Office, which is in Kentucky.
Did you ever see it? Did you ever see that report?
No, I was not able. I was not able to view that report, sir, at the time.
And when you spoke to the owner, I guess I kind of want to ask about the specific wording of your questions to the owner, to the best of your recollection. Did you say the defendant's name or a name for the defendant at the time?
Yes, I did. I asked her, does she know anybody named? Go ahead, sir.
Oh, I wasn't saying anything. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I asked the register owner of the vehicle, does she know that subject? And I basically stated the name of the subject at the time, which is Stillwell Kelly, and she's like, I don't know who that is. That was her answer to me.
And just curiosity, before you called, did you ask the defendant what name the owner would know them by?
No, sir, I did not.
No further questions at this time.
All right, Ms. Thomas, any follow-ups?
Briefly, Your Honor. Sergeant, at the time that you arrested this gentleman, was there a valid hit for that vehicle as being stolen?
Yes, ma'am. It was a valid hit, which was confirmed by our GCIC terminal operator who contacted Barrow County Sheriff Office. They confirmed that the vehicle was stolen.
And the victim confirmed that she did not give anyone permission to have it?
Yes, sir. The victim did confirm that she did not give anybody possession of her vehicle. And she also went and explained that and I asked her, how was it stolen? And she explained that the vehicle was, again, I can't recall if she said it was running at the time or if it was just sitting there unlocked with the keys in there. But she did stated to me that somebody jumped in the vehicle and quickly drove away with her vehicle.
And this is not something you read off a report. She told you this.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I have.
Just one more question, Judge.
Go ahead.
At least to start, you know how this goes. So, Sergeant, at any point did you ever give the owner an opportunity to view the defendant?
No. Again, everything was via phone. I didn't FaceTime the owner or anything like anybody like that.
All right, thanks. That was it.
All right. And Ms. Thomas, does the state have any further witnesses?
Not this time, Your Honor.
All right. And Mr. Rogers, you have a witness to present today?
Yes, sir, Judge.
Okay. And that is the person in the breakout room, or in the
Correct.
waiting room. Okay. I'm going to transfer.
Welcome.
It's Alicia Grimes.
Right.
Okay. All right. I'm going to admit them here. All right.
And Ms. Grimes, can you hear me?
Okay. Alicia Grimes, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. If you could turn your camera on, please. And then Mr. Rogers will swear you in, or I can swear you in either way.
I'm trying to see how this camera comes on. It keeps denying me. Am I supposed to hit something else on here? And let me see. Access your camera in the browser. Let's see. My camera is not wanting to come on, and I do not know why. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Yeah.
Okay. Just trying to see how this camera is coming on. It's not trying to come on.
Okay. So on my screen, I have an option that says ask to start video. That may pop up an option. I'm going to press that now. So that may pop up an option to say yes. Otherwise, the only thing I know is if you're on a phone, if you touch your screen, it should open up a
I'm on a computer, and I did receive that, and I did accept it, but it's for some reason it's not coming on.
You're not muted.
Do you see at least on my screen to the bottom left corner, do you see anything that says video, like a little?
I do, and I'm clicking that, yes. And it's saying enable camera access in your browser's address bar. So I don't know what that means.
It probably means at the top of the window a lot of times where the actual website address is.
Okay.
Because it might have been a pop-up of some sort.
I just want to make sure I don't lose you all.
What type of browser are you in? Are you an Internet Explorer?
Firefox is what I'm on.
Firefox. I don't have that on my system here, but I don't know if somewhere in the menu it has like maybe permissions or something like that to give it permission to access your camera. That may be something there that you could hit. And you don't have a lens cover on your camera or anything?
Yeah, I don't think she's at that. I don't think they're at that part yet, Judge, because the
name's still up. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you have another device, like a phone, that you might try to use?
Trying to see here. I don't know why that wouldn't be coming on, because anytime that I'm in school, I always use the camera comes on, so I don't understand why it wouldn't be coming on now. And I'm seeing what it's asking me to do. It's want me to. I'm going here to this. Let me see.
Are you able to see us?
I can see. Yes, I can see you all. Yes, I do see you all.
If you want to try to reboot your system, let's say that's kind of a last resort here. If there's anything else you can try, let's try that first, because that'll take a few minutes. But if it's been working and then now all of a sudden it's not working, that could be a solution. It just takes a while. Um,
Your Honor, while she's doing that, would the court like to move on to another case, or are we gonna just?
let's, I tell you what, let's try one thing here because I'm wondering if she hits refresh, if she's going through the browser, if she hits refresh, it's going to kick her out but allow her to log right back in. And I'm wondering if that's going to pop up an option on the top of the browser bar that says something like give permission to the camera. It may be something that popped up earlier that disappeared. Um, why don't we try that and we'll just say that if Miss Grimes does not log back in pretty quickly, then we'll just kind of put this one on hold for a little bit, move on to the next case, and then once she is able to get logged back in, we can pick it up, give her some time to maybe reboot the whole computer and try again. Why don't we
Okay.
try that? Because that may work. So if you'll just hit refresh on your browser, we'll wait here we'll give you about a minute or two, and I'll watch for you to get logged back in and see if that pops up an option to give access to the camera.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
One moment.
All right.
Okay, I refreshed. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, and I'm still not having no camera. So it says enable camera access in your browser. So it's wanting me to do something, and I'm looking here in the browser. Let me see. Find find the camera and microphone options. Uncheck use default and select allow. But I have pushed allow. Let me see.
Okay, so I'm just gonna let's try this real quick here. So
Okay.
you're in Firefox. It navigate to privacy and security in your settings. Do you see that?
Privacy and security.
And I'm just reading off of Google AI, and so who knows if this is
Well,
accurate.
I'm not the most intellectual when it comes to computers. So
Me neither. So, if you see an option called privacy and security in your settings, there in the browser,
let me see.
or if you see something that says permissions. Okay, do you see any options like that?
Judge, may I run to the restroom right quick? I'll be right back.
Yeah, and what was the next case that you wanted to move to? We kind of get that teed up here in just a minute.
Christopher Madison, Your Honor.
Madison, okay.
And I believe that is Ms. Bulwer's case.
Okay, so Ms. Grimes, do you see any of those options there on the browser menu? She may have lost her audio. So why don't we move to another case? Hang on. So deputies, if you will hang on to Mr. Stillwell, as soon as we get Ms. Grimes' camera issue sorted out here, we'll pick it back up where we left off, I think. Okay. So deputies, if you guys can go ahead and bring up Madison. That is Christopher Madison. We'll get ready for that one in just a couple minutes here.
Are you
Yes.
Are you gonna put them back in the waiting? I guess
Yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah. So Miss Grimes, if you can hear me, I'm just going to put you back into the waiting room for a little bit and give you time to, if you want to try to reboot your computer, I'll also watch for you to log back in and then put you back in the waiting room too. Okay. But that'll give you some time to work on your camera.
The males is en route, we're waiting for, the females to go up. Huh? Yeah. That was a female that was run down here, that's for your courtroom. Let's see. Yes.
All right. So let's take a minute or two break while we wait on
The reason why she's there too is.
those folks, and I'll be right back.
Other inmates in court. And I told them to sit there, her too, and then I just have to try to clear out my phone there. She was still right down here, and I said, yeah, she was supposed to go.
Okay, I'm back.
I'm here, Judge.
Okay. All right. And deputies, do we have Madison up?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. If everybody on the Madison case can go ahead and turn their camera on, we'll get started. All right, let me get the live stream back up here. I think we're still streaming. Yeah. Okay. I am calling State of Georgia versus Christopher Madison. And so there at the jail, if you're Christopher Madison, wave at me to confirm that. All right. Thank you, sir. And representing I'm sorry, Mr. Madison is charged with aggravated assault, warrant 2025 WA 73264. Representing the state is Ms. Thomas.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
representing Mr. Madison is Ms. Bulwer. And
Sorry, Judge, I just want to hear you correctly. It sounded like you only read off one warrant.
I'm sorry, that's the only one. Hang on just a second. I may have not.
Officer Kidd, I need
He
you
has
to
a
turn
total
on
of 3 warrants, Judge.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I did not print everything I needed to there. Hang on just a minute here.
Okay.
Usually I check the calendar and I didn't do that.
Honey, you should have the armed robbery, ag assault.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, there's 2 here that I missed. All right. So in addition to the aggravated assault charge there's also armed robbery, warrant 2025 CW 70727, and another aggravated assault 2025 CW 70729. Okay. All right.
Just for clarification, there should be an armed robbery and an ag assault on one date, and then an ag assault by itself on a different date from what I have.
Okay.
All the same officer.
All right. And Ms. Thomas, you can call your witness.
State would like to call Officer Kidd. Officer, if you would, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the evidence you shall give before the court today shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Put your hand down, state your name for the record,
Officer Ayers Kidd,
and how are you employed?
Clayton County Police Department.
And you employed in that capacity on about March the 6th of 2025.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you have occasion to investigate an incident that occurred at 5327 Riverwalk Drive?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that within the confines of Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am.
And did that incident involve a Christopher Devon Madison?
Yes, ma'am.
What brought your attention to Mr. Madison at that location?
So for the first incident, which would be the armed robbery and ag assault, I received a dispatch call for a person armed at that apartment location. And upon my arrival, Mr. Madison was standing outside of the apartment complex by the gate. I'm guessing he does security there to, I guess, warrant who enters the apartment complex. And upon my arrival, he flagged me down and stated that the car in question was fleeing from the apartment complex.
No, hold it before, because I'm getting a little confused. The person that flagged you down, who was that?
Mr. Madison.
The person that you subsequently arrested.
Yes.
Okay.
So, well, is this for the ag assault armed robbery or just the ag assault?
Yes, the ag assault armed robbery.
Okay, so he flagged me down and let me know that the car that was fleeing from the scene was a silver Nissan. Should be in a silver Nissan Maxima or Altima. I'm unsure of the model. And once I arrived back on the scene, because I attempted to get behind the car and get the tag, but per our policy, we can't pursue. So I turned back around on the street and I arrived at the apartment complex. I spoke with Madison, in which he stated the guy was dropping off a friend and he noticed a firearm on his lap, which it's not illegal for him to not have a firearm in his possession.
Okay, before we get too confused, too far down what guy?
So the guy who wasn't identified at the time would be Mr. Brewington.
Is that person identified as the victim later?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you're being told someone later identified as the victim was dropping off someone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what happened next?
Madison then gave his side of the incident, in which he stated the guy was being, I want to say, rude towards him, and then he questioned him why he had a firearm on his lap. And Madison stated that he could see Brewington holding the firearm in his lap with his hand on the trigger guard, I believe that's what he said. And in that moment, Madison said that he held him at gunpoint and told him to give him the firearm.
Okay, so did Mr. Madison have a weapon?
He did. He drew. So on his persons, he had a taser. I'm not sure of the model. And he also had a Glock. I believe it was a 23.
Okay. He pointed his gun at the driver of the car that was
Yes, ma'am.
dropping off.
Yes, ma'am.
Did the person later identified as the victim, Brewington, ever point his weapon at this defendant?
No, ma'am.
So he just had the gun on his lap.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that illegal?
No, ma'am.
Is Mr. Madison a law enforcement officer?
No, ma'am.
What happened after he pointed his pistol at the victim, Mr. Brewington?
So he said after he held him at gunpoint, Brewington attempted to hit him with the vehicle that he was occupied in. And Madison said there was a struggle as Brewington was driving off, because Madison was in his window. He said it was a struggle with Brewington trying to give up the rifle. And as he drove off, Madison managed to take the rifle from Brewington's immediate possession.
Okay, now let's back up for a minute, because I thought you described one thing and I might have misheard you. What type of weapon did the victim have?
So he had a 9mm black AR.
I'm not a gun person. You're going to tell me what that
So it will be considered an assault rifle.
So he had this assault rifle laying on his lap. Again, not illegal, correct?
No, ma'am. Or yes, ma'am, he had it on his lap, but no, ma'am, it's not illegal.
Okay. This defendant pointed a gun at him, then tried to take his gun.
Madison pointed the gun at Brewington in attempts to retrieve his weapon. Once Madison couldn't get the weapon, he then reached inside to get the weapon.
Did he take the victim's gun?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
Where did the victim go after that?
I spoke with the victim the next day, and he stated he went straight home.
How were you able to determine the identification of the victim?
The victim reached out to our Sector 2 precinct in regards to make a report about the incident, in which I let him know there was already a report made, and that if he wanted to do a written statement on his behalf to give his story, he's more than welcome to come in and provide that. But I spoke with him via cell phone.
Did he come in and make a statement?
No, not that I'm aware of, no. But the conversation me and him had was on my body cam.
Okay. And that's your body cam recording something over the phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he want to pursue this matter?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
Did he get his gun back?
Right now, it's still in evidence.
Where did you get the gun from?
I retrieved the weapon from Mr. Madison.
And did Mr. Madison indicate if at any point in time the victim had tried to use the weapon against him?
No, ma'am.
So it remained on the victim's lap until the defendant snatched it out of his lap?
Yes, ma'am.
And he admitted pointing his gun at the victim?
Yes, ma'am.
Did the victim in his conversation to you ever indicate how he felt with that gun pointed at him?
Yes, ma'am.
What did he say, if anything?
He said he was in fear of his life and that he would have gotten seriously injured or possibly died. So he left the scene in fear.
And he left his weapon.
Yes, ma'am.
Did he take anything from Mr. Madison?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And all of this happened on March the 6th.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have occasion to respond to that location again?
Yes, ma'am.
Same incident location?
Yes, ma'am.
And by the way, is this an apartment complex?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the name of it?
I want to say Riverwalk Apartments. I'm not too sure on the name. I just go by the street number.
Okay, but it is an apartment complex.
Yes, ma'am.
And going back to the March 6th case, that victim does not live there.
No, ma'am. He was dropping off a friend.
Okay. Now, another incident happened on March the 8th.
So just to include, ma'am, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, that's fine. Go ahead.
Mr. Brewington did state that Madison did point his taser at him also once he got out the vehicle to retrieve his weapon back from him.
Okay, so, okay then, let's backtrack a little bit. After defendant Madison got the rifle, the victim stopped his car?
Yes, ma'am.
He got out of his car?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he attempt to get his rifle back?
He stated he attempted to walk towards him, and as he walked towards him, Mr. Madison drew his taser at him.
So he pointed his gun at him and then later pointed his taser at him?
Yes, ma'am.
While he was trying to retrieve his property, while the victim was trying to retrieve his property.
Yes, ma'am.
What did the victim do after that?
The victim stated that he left the scene fearing for his safety.
Okay, I'm sorry. You said what now?
Mr. Brewington stated that after he drew his taser, he was in fear of seriously bodily harm, so he left the scene.
Okay. Now, let's move on to the 8th. What happened on March 8th?
So on March 8th, this was not really, it wasn't a response call. I was conducting a general patrol of the area due to the high call volume of responses that we do receive from there in reference to domestic violences and breaking and entering in automobiles. So I was conducting a general patrol of the area when...
I'm going to interrupt you right quick. When you say the area, are you talking about that apartment complex?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The Riverwalk Drive, 5327 Riverwalk Drive.
Okay. And what happened?
I was conducting a general patrol of the area, and a female who can be identified as Jasmine Parker flagged down my patrol vehicle, and she informed me that she was being harassed by the security guard, which was Mr. Madison. She explained to me that she was on the property to visit her boyfriend, and he initially invited her over, which gave her, I would say, her right to be in the apartment complex.
Okay, now when you talking about who invited her over, was it Madison or the boyfriend?
Her boyfriend.
Okay, so the boyfriend invites her to the apartment complex.
Yes, ma'am.
Did she make it to the boyfriend's residence?
No, ma'am.
What happened?
So she stated that she drove through the gate, but was stopped due to congested traffic. She said she drove around on the opposite lane to reach her destination, at which point Madison stood in front of her vehicle. Madison stated that he was speaking to another residence, which is why the lanes to get into the residence was congested or stopped for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she said, at which point Madison stood in front of her vehicle. Parker then said that Madison refused to move, forcing her to maneuver around him in her vehicle. So as she avoided hitting him, Madison got into his vehicle and sped up behind her, attempting to pull her over in the residential area.
He's not a law enforcement officer, is he?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so he didn't become an officer in 2 days.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
So
What
Parker,
happened after he went behind her?
excuse me, ma'am.
What happened after he went behind her?
So Parker then said that Madison followed her and cut her off, forcing her to have to stop her vehicle. She said Madison got out of his vehicle and approached her, so Parker followed suit and she got out of the car as well. And then from there is when it escalated to Madison demanding her of her personal personal information and her vehicle information, which she refused to provide him. And that's when the altercation, I would say, grew more aggressive because she wasn't compliant, in which Madison didn't like that.
So she refused to give him her personal information.
Yes, ma'am.
What did he do?
So She stated that as she walked towards him, because they were arguing back and forth, he drew his taser at her and pointed it at her and told her to back up and not come any closer.
Did he say why he drew? Did she have a weapon or anything?
No, ma'am. All she had in her hand was her phone, which she was recording the incident.
Were you able to see the video or what she was recording?
I was, ma'am.
Do you know where that video is now?
It's actually attached to my report of the incident.
So you didn't watch it, but you do have it.
I did. I watched both. There's two
Okay.
videos.
That was taken by Miss Parker?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I was just asking. You were able to see it.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Could you see what Mr. Madison was doing on the video?
At one point, yes, you can. You can see him with his taser out, drawn out of the holster. And he's telling her, if you keep moving up on me, I'm gonna have to use it.
And you said there were 2 videos?
Yes, there was 2 videos.
Where's the other one?
It's also in my incident report.
What can you see on the other one?
The other one is just her flashing the camera at herself and then at him, but you can see him with the taser out of his holster.
So he pointed a taser at her?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he ever point a gun at her?
No, ma'am.
Just a taser?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did she indicate whether or not she was in fear for her safety?
She did, ma'am. That's why she stated she was in fear of receiving seriously bodily harm. That's why she flagged me down.
What did Mr. Madison say, if anything?
Mr. Madison was very argumentative. He did admit to drawing his taser and pointing it at her, and then he also explained that he only stopped her to confront her because she drove on the wrong side of the road, breaching the apartment's gate. Once I entered the residence, there was no sign, or once I left the residence, there was no sign of forcible entry on the apartment gate. It wasn't broken or anything like that.
And she refused to give him information. Did he mention anything about trying to get her information?
Yes, so he stated, if you don't want to give it to me, you're gonna find out. I'm gonna get it regardless.
Get it for what?
I guess from the police report, because for them, they have to do their own separate report and they'll ask us for the case number. So he can attach his report to his, I don't know. I'd have no idea what the company name is that he works for.
So he has to do a report and he demands information from people.
Yes, ma'am.
Did she give it to him at any point?
No, ma'am.
Officer, is a taser capable of rendering injury to a person?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened to Mr. Madison after this particular incident?
After this particular incident, Madison was arrested. He was placed in handcuffs.
And is this for both the incident that occurred on the 6th and the incident that occurred on the 8th?
So the arrest was for the 8th, and I had to obtain warrants for the 6th.
Okay.
Which I was able to do after speaking with the victim, Mr. Brewington. Also to be noted, Mr. Madison does walk around on his person with the body cam. Each incident, I've asked him if he's had it on, which he stated no.
So these 2 incidents, he did not record on his body cam?
No, ma'am. In each incident that he has shown me with his body cam, it is operational.
So he says he doesn't have video, you don't know?
No, he said he never turned it on. But once he showed me how it works, it was proved to be operational.
Okay.
He just doesn't record it. And I also informed him that if he's going to wear a body cam, it should be recording during every encounter with the citizen.
Which brings me to your body cam. Was your body cam operable?
Yes, ma'am.
Did it record your interactions with Mr. Madison?
Yes, ma'am.
Did it record your interactions with both of these victims, Mr. Brewington and Miss Parker?
Yes, ma'am.
And did Mr. Brewington record anything?
No, ma'am.
But Miss Parker did.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you
Mr.
know?
Brewington stated that he did have a witness, which would have been the person he dropped off.
Okay. So he has a witness and Miss Parker has video.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if the apartment complex itself is equipped with any type of video?
I don't believe so, ma'am. No.
You didn't inquire?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did Mr. Madison ever tell you why he confronted these people?
Not so for the 8th incident, he was very argumentative with myself and other responding officers. I gave him a statement paper, which he didn't fill out because he insisted on arguing with us and getting our badge numbers and vehicle numbers. But he did state the reason for the March 6th incident, which was because of the firearm being on the victim's lap.
Not pointed at him, not used
Not pointed at him, no ma'am.
aggressively.
No ma'am.
Okay. And the victim at the time was still in his car,
Yes ma'am.
about to leave.
Yes ma'am. The victim never pulled through the gate. He was dropping his friend off at the front entrance.
Okay. Now, officer, are you on a computer or anything?
I am, ma'am.
Can you see everybody in court today?
Yes ma'am.
Do you see the person that you encountered, Christopher Madison, in court with us? If so, identify him by physical appearance or article of clothing.
I can. He's wearing an orange jumpsuit. He has a beard and looks like an afro.
Okay. And I believe that's all I have of the officer reserve right for redirect.
All right, Ms. Bulwer.
Thank you, Judge. Officer Kidd, this apartment complex, is it privately owned property?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you speak to anyone in ownership or management at that apartment complex with regards to their policies for possessing firearms on their privately owned property?
No, ma'am. So I work morning watch. So I'm not during the hours of business, I'm not working.
Okay, but at any point in time, did you or anyone that you work with, to your knowledge, speak to anyone who owns the apartment complex or who manages on behalf of the owners, the apartment complex, with regards to their policy about firearms on their property?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And did you speak to you or anyone working this case with you, speak to the owner or the management with regards to Mr. Madison's duties at that property?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you verify that he was in fact employed as armed security guard at that location?
As in speaking to a manager of his?
Anyone? Did you verify with anyone?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did Mr. Madison tell you, in fact, that he was employed as armed security at that location?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you able to confirm either with Mr. Madison or anyone related to that property what his specific duties, his requirements at that property would be?
No, ma'am.
Did you speak to the passenger that was allegedly with Brewington on March 6th?
No, ma'am.
Did you speak to Mr. Brewington with regards to the statements Madison made about him trying to hit him with his vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
What did Brewington say with regards to those allegations?
Mr. Brewington stated that he never attempted to drive over Mr. Madison. He was only doing it because he was held at gunpoint. He only drove away because he was held at gunpoint. And then Mr. Madison reached into his vehicle and snatched his weapon.
And you did not confirm that with his passenger?
Negative.
Did he provide you with the name and contact information of the passenger?
No, ma'am.
Did Mr. Brewington give you any indication as why he is not coming to the police department to make a physical report that would include his passenger's information?
So he stated that he was going to make a statement. I'm unsure if he actually went up there and made a statement.
Okay. So we're 30 days later and you're still not certain if there's been no addition to your report that
No,
includes
ma'am.
a statement from the alleged victim
No, ma'am.
for the March 6th incident?
No, ma'am.
What time of day did this alleged event occur on March 6th?
It's around 11 p.m. to 1 a.m.
And were you able to canvass and find any other witnesses to the March 6th incident?
No, ma'am.
Were you able to canvass and find any other Ring camera or any other audio video with regards to this alleged incident?
No, ma'am. There aren't any Ring cameras facing the entrance of the apartment complex.
So no one's apartment faces the
No, ma'am.
entrance? Okay. And when you spoke to Madison, did he make statements under Miranda?
No, ma'am. He wasn't detained.
Okay. The statements that he made to you
Was his
did
own free
indicate,
will and voluntary.
okay. Let me finish my second question. The statements that he made to you, did he indicate in his statement how he felt when he saw the firearm on Mr. Brewington's lap?
No, ma'am.
Did he indicate that he had concerns for his safety with regards to an assault rifle in his presence?
No, ma'am.
Did he indicate to you that assault rifles were not permitted items on the private property apartment complex?
No, ma'am.
And how large is this weapon, this assault rifle?
It probably has about a 11-inch barrel, 11, 13-inch barrel.
Let's move on to the March 8th for that alleged incident. When you spoke to Ms. Parker, her statement was given on body-worn camera.
Yes, ma'am.
Did she also provide a written statement?
Yes, ma'am.
With regards to Ms. Parker and the video that you observed, she was approaching Mr. Madison when he pulled out his taser, correct?
No. So they were standing still. At one point they were going back and forth with walking towards each other.
So they're going back and forth and walking towards each other, and then he pulls out his taser, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And he tells her no further advances, don't come any closer, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And again, you did not speak to apartment complex management or anyone associated with ownership, so you don't know if she had permission to be on that property, correct?
No, ma'am. She was invited onto the property.
She's invited on the property by a resident, but you don't know
Yes,
of
ma'am.
any other situation
As far
regarding
as
the
their
apartment
policy to
complex.
not have people there that's not residents?
Yes,
No, ma'am.
okay. And so essentially, Parker's alleged to have entered the property through the exit, correct?
Well, so how it's set up is it's 2 lanes. Once you get
Mhm.
through, there's a gore there. So after you get through the gate to where you can go around through the gate or go around after you get through the gate, there's a gore
Mhm.
there to where you could go around and then get back onto the main entrance road. So it would have been the exit lane.
Okay, so she entered through the exit lane.
Well, she entered
into-
through the main entrance lane and then went over.
Okay,
So
she was in line to enter and didn't want to wait. Is that what
So
you
she
testified
got
to on direct?
no. So she got through. Okay. She
Okay.
made it past the barriers. She got
Okay.
through. Once you get through, there's 2 lanes, and then there's a middle lane with trees, and then there's a gore for vehicles to turn around. After she made entrance through the main entrance lane, she went over to the exit lane and went around, and then went into a roundabout. So there's 2 travel lanes. There's one to go in, and then there's one to go out.
Okay.
She made it through the entrance through the gate to go in. And then she went around after making entrance.
Okay. And Mr. Madison advised that she entered at a high rate of speed, correct?
No, ma'am.
He did not, so that's not going to be on your body worn camera. His statement to you that she entered that apartment complex and made a travel at a high rate of speed.
No, ma'am.
And what time of day did the March 8th incident that is alleged to have occurred?
It was around 11 p.m. to 1 a.m.
And same
Oh, you said
question.
March 8th or March 6th?
March 8th.
Oh, so March 8th, it was around 5 a.m.
Did you speak to the boyfriend of Miss Parker?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sorry, did you say 5 a.m. for
Yes,
the
sir.
March 8th? Okay. All right. Thank you.
And was he able to provide any information with regards to Miss Parker?
He wanted to remain anonymous from the report, but he did state on my body cam that he invited her over to the residence and that he was waiting for her at the front gate.
So do we have the name and contact information of this anonymous boyfriend?
No, ma'am.
Okay. We're at 5 a.m. Were there any other people residing at that apartment complex who could provide any statements to you regarding anything that they might have seen or heard regarding this alleged incident?
No, ma'am.
And the only videos that you have are from Ms. Parker
Of the incident?
of the alleged incident, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So no ring camera, nothing else facing this particular incident location.
No, so how the apartments are set up, they don't face inward towards the entrance road.
Okay. And there was no one else around either during the March 6th incident or the March 8th incident that you're aware of?
So upon my arrival for March 6th, there were vehicles exiting, coming in and exiting.
Okay. And did any exiting, entering vehicles, did anybody provide any additional information?
No.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Thomas, any redirect?
Officer, regarding the first incident on March the 6th, Mr. Brewington, was he going into the apartment complex or was he literally dropping off?
He was dropping off.
He wasn't trying to go in.
No, ma'am.
And regarding the March 8th incident, who was blocking the entrance to the apartment complex?
That I'm unaware of, ma'am. Once I arrived on scene, they were already in an altercation.
Okay. Did the victim advise that this defendant was talking with somebody up front and the traffic was backed up? Is that what you just testified to?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the victim indicated she went around him.
Yes, ma'am.
Was she blocking the lane or that you could tell?
Was she or he?
She went around him.
Yes, ma'am. She went around.
Did she block any lanes going around him?
So once she stopped, it was at a roundabout, which was the way it's set up. There's like parking spots, and that's where they were at once I got there.
Okay, so that roundabout, is that actually on the apartment premises or is that out?
It is.
Is it in the front?
It's in the back.
It's in the, so she had to drive through the complex to get to the roundabout area?
Yes, ma'am.
So how did he catch up with her?
He got in his vehicle and sped up to her.
So he just left the front gate and went behind her?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And she was invited onto the property?
Yes, ma'am.
You were able to confirm that?
Yes, ma'am.
And that conversation is on body cam.
Yes, ma'am.
She didn't hurt anybody or do anything, any damage.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I have.
All right. Ms. Boulware, any recross related to that?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Thomas, any further witnesses today?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
And Ms. Boulware, are you presenting any witnesses today?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Thomas, do you want to reserve closing?
I do, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. And Ms. Boulware?
Thank you, Judge. Your Honor, Mr. Madison is employed at the apartment complex tasked with providing security. This is a private property that he is required to provide security for the resident of the property. He was tasked with safety concerns when he met up with Mr. Brewington, who, although he may not have entered the gate, he's still on private property with a huge assault rifle. He naturally had concerns, asked questions with regards to it, and was met with Brewington being argumentative, refusing to answer questions or turn over the weapon. And at some point, Mr. Brewington then leaving the property and attempting to strike Mr. Madison with his vehicle, according to the statement that my client made to the officer that is on his body-worn camera. Ms. Parker recorded herself in an aggressive exchange with Mr. Madison on the property, having entered through the exit. And when Mr. Madison goes to investigate, which is, again, providing security for the apartment complex task is one of his job duties, he goes to ask her about it. She then aggressively moves towards him, and he pulls out his taser and tells her not to come any further, which is an act of self-defense. So I don't believe the state has met its burden with regards to any of the warrants, but certainly not with the warrant regarding Parker. So I would ask that all warrants be dismissed at this point, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. And Ms. Thomas?
Your Honor, for the most part, I'm going to stand on the testimony of the officer. However, I would like the court to consider several things. First of all, regarding the March the 6th incident, that
I'm sorry. Can y'all give me a moment? I've got some background noise.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
About that.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Thomas.
That particular victim was merely there to drop off a friend. And until confronted by this defendant, I don't believe he even exited his vehicle. It is not illegal, as the officer testified, to carry a weapon in the state of Georgia anymore. He had an assault rifle lying on his lap in his car, minding his own business, until he was confronted by Mr. Madison. Now, had he pointed the assault rifle at Mr. Madison, had he said something inappropriate to Mr. Madison, we'd probably be having a different conversation. That's not what happened here. What happened was this young man, who I'm assuming wants to be a police officer one day, went above and beyond his duties and responsibilities by confronting the victim, by pointing a weapon at the victim, by actually taking the victim's weapon from him at gunpoint as the victim was trying to leave. Now, if the victim wanted to do him harm, he had an assault rifle in his lap. He could have shot him right then and there. He didn't. He was trying to leave. He was trying to drop off his friend. He was trying to leave. Regarding the incident on the 6th, on the 8th, she's there to visit her boyfriend, not to be interrogated or confronted by this man, who during the course of the confrontation points his taser at him, a taser which the officer again acknowledges this is a deadly weapon. So you got two victims within 2 days, one of which was confronted by a pistol, the other one which was confronted by a weapon, the other one which was confronted by a taser, both of which could be considered deadly weapons. Both counts aggravated assault. In addition, the incident on the 6th, where he was holding his weapon while taking the assault weapon from the victim, That's an armed robbery. The victim was trying to leave. He confronted him with a gun and snatched his rifle from him. You know, I haven't heard a reason yet as to why he would do that. If he's supposed to be if he's supposed to be security on the property, you notify the police if something is going on. I still don't understand, based on the officer's testimony, why he would even confront Miss Parker. She didn't do anything. State would contend that sufficient probable cause has been presented on all three of the counts for both of the days for this case to be transferred in its entirety to the Superior Court of Clayton County.
Okay. Thank you both. Let me start with the armed robbery charge. Armed robbery requires that an intent to commit theft as a part of the offense. I do not find probable cause that there was an intent to commit theft here. I think that in that incident involving the assault rifle, there was an intent to disarm for safety reasons. It appears to me most likely. And so I don't find probable cause on the armed robbery charge. I'm going to dismiss that charge. I think that this has been described as it's legal to drive around with an assault rifle on your lap, and I can say it ain't normal. If I pulled up at a gas station and someone pulled up at the pump across from me with an assault rifle in their lap, I go get gas elsewhere. I take off. So that was a cause for alarm. I understand that. Dismissing the armed robbery charge. On the aggravated assault charge involving the taser, I do not believe that there was any testimony that a taser is a deadly weapon. I think the question asked was, is it a weapon that can cause injury? The aggravated assault charge requires that the weapon would be one that is likely to cause serious bodily injury. I do not find probable cause here that the aggravated assault in terms of the taser incident was met. So I'm going to dismiss the aggravated assault charge related to the taser. I believe that is, let me make sure I keep these straight. Jasmine Parker. That is 2025 WA 73264. On the aggravated assault charge related to pulling the gun on the gentleman who had the assault rifle in his lap, I am going to find probable cause as to that aggravated assault charge, and I am going to bind that charge over to Superior Court again, but dismiss the armed robbery and then the aggravated assault charge related to the taser. Okay, so that's going to be my order that I issued today. Officer Kidd, if that takes care of if you don't have any other cases, you can be excused today. Thank you. And
Thank you, Your Honor.
deputies, that will take care of everything on Mr. Madison today, and he can be taken back.